Welcome to the first garage side chat for RJA Analog. With us today, we have Jim Weed, the founder of Ferrari Market Letter, myself, Richard Vidic, and we both run RJA Analog Garage together. How you doing today, Jim?
I'm doing well. Yeah, and I should say, I did not found Ferrari Market Letter. Ferrari Market Letter was founded by Gerald Rausch in 1972. He started tracking serial numbers on Ferraris, but that's getting a little ahead of ourselves. So first, I'm Jim Weed. I've been in the Ferrari world for about 50 years and grew up in an automotive family. And my dad worked for Ford Motor Company, so I grew up, learning about cars pretty early in life. We didn't actually have cars that I worked on or that we owned because my dad got a new car every year. As a executive, he got a company car. So I never really grew up around cars, other than brand new cars. But I learned a lot of automotive history and a lot of systems and systems management.
Great, awesome. How did you first get started with Ferrari and Gerald Rausch?
I was back in the 70s. I had a hippie van and typical van, refrigerator in it, shag carpet, the whole 9 yards. And a friend of mine had gotten hired at the local Ferrari dealer. So this was in Tucker, Georgia, and the Ferrari dealer was FAF Motor Cars. And so he had gotten hired there, and they needed to tow a car. So he came to me at where I was working at Sears Automotive, and I need to borrow your van. No, you're not borrowing my van. Why? And he's like, well, I've got a Ferrari that I need to pick up in Richmond, Virginia, and we've got to get it right away. So I left work. We drove. FAF had a trailer, but no tow vehicle. So they used my van. I used their trailer. We drove to Richmond, Virginia, picked up this Ferrari in the middle of the night and brought it back. And as soon as we dropped the car off, I went back to work. So that was kind of my first job with Ferrari. And after that, I towed several cars all around the Southeast, some very interesting, others pretty mundane. And I did that off and on as, a side gig, because we were all young and hungry at that time. So ultimately, I was able to get hired on at FAF in the parts department. And the gentleman who hired me was Gerald Rausch, the founder of the Ferrari Market Letter. And at that point in time, it was called the FAF Market Letter. And basically, Gerald had gotten with FAF, and they wanted an outlet to be able to sell or advertise the Ferraris that they had for sale. And in doing that, they came up with this market letter idea. And so they sold subscriptions and advertised Ferraris that FAF had for sale. But Gerald was able to get ads from other magazines or other newspapers around the country. So typically Los Angeles Times, New York Times had big classified ad sections way before the internet. And he would go in and pull those ads. And if he could figure out what the serial number was, he recorded that. So he started collecting serial numbers pretty early. So Gerald hired me in the parts department, and I worked in the parts department for several years. Gerald had left and continued with the Ferrari Market Letter, dropping the FAF, and it became the Ferrari Market Letter. And so I worked in the parts department. I sold parts for a number of years. I took a job in California and worked out there for 4 years, selling Ferrari parts, worked my way back across the country, and came back to Atlanta in 1986 and became service manager at FAF. Did that for 6 years, I guess, in about 1990, 1991. Started my own shop.
Yeah, at this point in time, you weren't really a mechanic, right? You learned from the best at Ferrari Market Letter.
Yeah, I wasn't
FAF.
really the guy twisting the wrenches. I worked with some incredible mechanics. The guys at FAF, Joe Batchelor and Rich Rudiger, probably two of the finest mechanics, all-around guys who could fix almost anything. Just incredible guys. I learned from them. Ultimately, I actually hired both of those guys at Dr. Honda and worked with them. So I worked with both those guys almost on a daily basis for about 40 years and learned all I could. There were other mechanics along the way. The Ferrari world tends to have a high degree of talent. So when you start to work on something as high level as a Ferrari, it tends to you tend to attract good quality mechanics. And so there were a bunch of people, different people that I learned from. When I left FAF as service manager and opened my own shop, it was really kind of at that point when I really started to work on cars and put practical knowledge to work. And still working with some very fine mechanics at that point. So they guided me quite a bit.
Awesome. You know, throughout your career, and it's a long history in the Ferrari world, I mean, who are some of the more interesting clients and cars that you, came in contact with?
The Ferraris tend to attract people who are high income, high value customers. And probably a lot of the customers that I knew, you've never heard of. I didn't necessarily get to hang out with big football players or basketball players. Guys like that, people that you might recognize on a daily basis. But I do have one good story